In John 15:13, Jesus says, "No one has greater love than this, that one lays down his life for his friends. You are my friends if you do what I command you." After this, Jesus goes on to talk about how people would think that they were doing service to God by putting the disciples to death. And those things took place in the very near future after this conversation. Later, the apostles spoke of how entering the kingdom of God required many sufferings and many persecutions. You can read about that in Acts 14. And even in our present age, in other parts of the world, there are many people who are suffering things that many of the people watching this video in parts of the world, like the United States, would never even dream of having to go through. But those things are part of laying our lives down for Christ. It's something to think about. In the United States, we don't really think about laying our actual lives down unless we happen to somehow be in a rare terrorist situation or something like that. We more think of it as being Christians our whole lives, or I don't know, giving a lot of money to the church. In the United States, in general, we have a pretty cold and casual view of the gospel and its importance, and Jesus didn't. Jesus said these things when he was going to his death, and the people he was talking to would also go to theirs for the kingdom of heaven, for Jesus, in obedience to Christ. Any scholar that you talk to will tell you that we're in the end times. Well, not any scholar, but most scholars. And the disciples said that we would be in the end times from after Jesus died until the end. And that's where we are now. And it's so important that I think that we prepare our hearts and ask the Lord to show us how we need to be more willing to be ready to truly lay down our lives, and to make the things that are eternal the most important things. I saw a small part of a documentary today called Sheep Among Wolves. That's what it was called. And it's a documentary about what our fellow Christians are going through in parts of the Middle East where they are severely persecuted for their faith, tortured in unspeakable ways before being killed if they will not deny Christ. And we need to not only keep them in prayer, but consider their example, the example of these brothers and sisters who are willing to truly give all for Christ, all for the message of Jesus, all to love those who persecute them. In our nation, we have no idea what that means. Not really. But I pray that our dedication to the Lord becomes truer, less political, less based on social media, and more about what Jesus had in mind, and that was that he gave up everything to make life available to us all, to the Nazis, to the Taliban, to the cold and casual American Christians, and to those who are persecuted daily because they believe Jesus.